So my name is Sarfaraz, and I'm going to do a discussion on exam prep for the MB210 sales examination. So first of all, I want to thank the organizers of this conference to give me an opportunity to present my ideas. So let's move forward. So just a brief introduction about myself. I'm a Dynamics 365 and Power Platform Solution Architect. I'm based in Sydney, Australia. I'm a certified trainer for Microsoft products. I've got 17 plus Microsoft certifications in Power Platform, Dynamics 365, Azure, and Microsoft 365. Also, I've got a Prince 2 practitioner, Agile PM practitioner, and certified Scrum Master certifications. I've got my LinkedIn, my blog, and my email contacts in here. So once I share the slide deck, then if anybody wants to contact me, they can contact me for future references. Okay, so moving to the next slide. This is what I call the MB210 exam pyramid. So as in anything in life, you have to start at the bottom and then make your way and work your way up to the top. So I've got 4 steps for preparing for this exam. The first one is book your exam. The next one is, as you can see from the name, PL200. Third step is core sales concepts, and the fourth step is advanced sales concept. So let's go into each of these and see why and what we have to do within each step. So book an exam. I've got 2 motivational quotes here just to motivate the folks. So one is action always beats intention. And the other one is, if it is important to you, you will find a way. If not, you will find an excuse. So just to sort of iterate on these ideas is that I'm sure most of you are like me, and if you are like me, you would have thought like, okay, I will do a certain certification in 1 week or 2 week or 3 week, and then if you are like me, would just have thought about, okay, I'll do a certification, start a study tomorrow, start a study from the weekend, or I'll start a study from next month, and sort of just uh, delaying the inevitable. So that's what I'm trying to say over here with this motivational quote, is that instead of thinking or making or just thinking about like, I'll have to do this certification, you have to take an action. And the other one is that if it's important for you, you will find a way. So I'm sure most of you folks must have heard from your friends and families complaining about not having enough time. Believe me, it's one of the most hidden truths, I would say, in the world. That everybody has 24 hours in the day, and no one has more than you, or no one has less than you. So everybody has 24 hours in the day, and and the way you will succeed or fail in life or in anything is how you spend your time, or how do you want to spend your time. So if somebody is saying they don't have enough time, this means that they don't value the activity for which they are saying they don't have enough time. So you have to make sure that you find time in your schedule for studies and to take an action, instead of just thinking that I want to further my career, and for furthering my career I need to do a certain certification. So that's the motivation, and the number one step which you have to do is to book your exam before you start studying. Otherwise, if you are like me, if you're like a normal person, you won't find the extra motivation or the extra kick you need to start studying. Now, moving to the next one is PL200. Now, most of you would be thinking that why we are talking about PL200 when this presentation should be about the MB210 sales exam. And I will come to you and I will let you know why. Because this product, this Microsoft app of Dynamics 365 Sales is built on top of the Power Platform, and the underlying concepts are what that are covered in PL200. Now, I've given this exam, I've given the customer service and marketing exams as well, and what I've noticed is that Microsoft does not limit the questions just to these just to the exam topics. Some questions are where you need the underlying knowledge of the actual product itself. So in this case, the Dataverse environment of what is a column, or what type of columns are available, or what is a security profile, or what is a column security profile, or what is a security role, duplicate detection settings, relationship between the tables. So these are not specifically sales topics or customer service or marketing topics. These are general Dataverse concepts and topics which you need to know. So if you already have given PL200 or MB200, then this means that those topics you have already covered. But I would suggest that before you start studying for the sales exam, these are the topics which I've listed here, some of the important ones. Just go through these topics again, because I'm pretty sure you will find at least 5 to 10 questions which you would say that don't relate directly to the sales, but would relate to one of these topics. So you have to ensure that you cover these topics. So the first one is, of course, table slash entity configuration. So be comfortable knowing what type of columns can be created, what are the different forms like main form, card form, these type of things, what are the different kind of views and how to create views, what are the different business rules. So as an example, you can have entity business rules with the scope of entities, or with the scope of forms, or with a particular form name. So just sort of revise that, what those rules are all about. And also then just making sure to see that what type. So if you have a form business rule, what action can it cover, and if it is an entity business rule, what it can do or cannot do. So those concepts, just a bit of just go through the charts again slightly. Again, business process flow is very important. Just go through an import and export of data slightly. Security settings, it's very important topic. So this is security settings. I found it's covered in almost all all dynamics exams in one way or another. So you should be super and extra clear on this topic. Then relevance search and auditing. Again, you don't have to know every detail. It's just that if you see a question which pertains to these topics, then you are not sort of taken off guard that why this is coming up here. And duplicate detections, relationship between the tables, and also like so the relationship between the tables is like when you have to create a lookup, or when you have a one-to-many relationship, those kind of things. So just go through these topics even if you have this certification, because sometimes you just forgot those things. Now, moving to the next part, that one is the core sales concept. So in part, as part of your preparation, these are some of the main concepts which you should prepare for and have a deep understanding of. So you should know accounts and contacts in super details, that how, what is a account used for, what are the different options, what are the main fields of an account, what are the different contacts, those kind of things. Similarly, you should know what activities. Okay, 1 second, sorry, I've just clicked an extra one. Yep. Then you should know what activities are and how they relate to contacts and accounts. So activities are like when you're doing an, if you're creating an email, or if you are creating a phone call, and those kind of things. And then you have got those main sales related entities. So leads, what a lead is first. So first of all, you should know what a lead is, how can leads come into the environment, and what actions you can take on a lead, and what is the general sales concept for a lead. And then how are leads converted into opportunities, and what an opportunity is. Similarly, what is a quote, and how it sort of have a relationship with an opportunity. Now, as you notice, I've got links over here, so I'm just going to go back to my presentation. So I've got hyperlinks here. So if I, for example, click leads, so what I'm trying to do is that I have linked the content from mainly from Microsoft Learn website, which sort of covers up what you need to know about leads. So as an example, this module, manage leads with Dynamics 365 sales. If you go through this one, it will give you the required knowledge which you need for the certification exam. Similarly, for opportunities, if you go in there, it sort of gives you all the details. Now again with quotes the same thing, and then you need to know what an order is and how. So when a customer accepts your quote and you have an opportunity one, then an order is created. So you need to sort of go through all of the process of the sales order, and it should be super clear. Again, the links are there which you can utilize. Invoices, that what is the role of invoices and how it works. Similarly, products and product catalogs, and finally typical sales process. So I think I've got the ordering slightly wrong here, though the typical sales process is the first thing which you should know. So it gives you an overall idea of what a sales process is. So I'm just going to give you a particular diagram. So this is sort of an overall idea which you should know, that how the a typical sales cycle work in an organization. And then once you know this thing, then you can sort of see, okay, how the core entities of the Dynamics 365 sales system are working. So you have your lead, and when you qualify a lead, it creates an account or a contact. And if and if one of those exists in the system already, then it sort of uses the same one, and then it creates an opportunity. Once an opportunity has been won, and then you have your sales order, processing of quote, order, and invoice. So it should be super clear to you. But these are the topics which you need to cover. Now, these core sales concepts, they will make about 40 to 50% of the total exam. So that's why you need to be 100% clear on these concepts. Moving to the next one, which is the top of the pyramid, which is advanced sales concepts. So in advanced sales concept, these are the concepts which, if you do a typical implementation for Dynamics 365 sales, depending on the organization and the complexity of their sales process, you may or may not implement any of these concepts in a real world scenario. So if you have a very small organization, only the core concepts will suffice. But again, from an exam perspective, you need to know all these concepts, but just a bit of an educated guess, like a educated experience is required, because these ones are not done in every sales implementation. So you sort of need to give them their due time, like not too less and also not too much. So I would suggest that for all those topics, depending on, let's say, if you are studying 2 hours every day for the exam, so maybe for these topics, I would say maybe spend a total of 6 to 8 hours, not more, not less. So that will give you a good idea about these topics. But again, these topics will cover maybe only about 20% of the exam. So you don't want to spend too much time on these ones. So the first one is sales territories. Again, this is not a very difficult concept, but just need to know. Some people are taken off guard of what is the sales territory is all about, and what and how you can configure it. So I've linked it to the relevant documentation, so you can have a go. And then with the relevant documentation, again, it will take you from one area to another. So it just you have to know that how much deep you want to go into a particular topic. But from an exam perspective only, you don't need to go too much deep into these advanced sales concept. Then sales collateral is nothing but the documentation. So for example, if you are implementing the Dynamics 365 sales system for a product based company who, let's say, have a software which they sell, so they may have sales literature for that software. As an example, like, like marketing material, somebody has created it, what the software can do, feature set, and those kind of things. So you can keep those collateral in the Dynamics 365 environment, and then the sales people can utilize this during their opportunity and sending those documents to the customer as part of their as part of trying to win that opportunity. So again, so super easy concept, but just go through it, not spend too much time. Sales insights. Yeah, so this wording, sales insight use cases, I've taken from the study guide itself. So the study guide says that you should know the use cases of how or where sales insights and customer insights can be used. So I've linked it to the relevant section. So again, taking to the relevant section. So it just give you work with Dynamics 365 Sales Insight. So it's a, as you can see from the timing, it's a long learning path. But again, you don't have to spend that much time, because this concept, you may have only one or two, honestly, you may have only one or two questions, or maybe zero questions from this topic. So if you are preparing specifically for the exams, don't spend too much time. Just have a quick skim through of the topic, so you understand what sales insight is, and a have a sort of a high level view and high level idea of what it can be done, what it can do, and what it cannot do. So probably if you are short on time, maybe just go through the first unit here, and probably spending 5-10 minutes, and it will give you an idea where the sales and what is coming in freely with the Dynamics 365 Sales app, what are advanced features, and what is the Sales Insight app itself, and then what are the prerequisites sort of, and also what it can and cannot do for you. So it gives you a nice idea, and then you can use this thing. But don't spend too much time unless you want to specifically learn this particular topic or want to implement it in a particular project. Next one is customer insights. Against the same case, don't spend too much time. Just know what customer insight is all about, and how and when it can be used. Similarly, Power Virtual Agents and AI Builder. So you should know what can be done with these two, and what is the potential of these two products and technologies. But don't need to go too much deep into how you can implement a Power Virtual Agent and those kind of things. Those are covered in pretty much detail in PL200 anyways. Next one is forecasting. So forecasting is a very important concept for sort of enterprise level organizations, big ones, but you won't implement this one for like a small or medium level organizations. But again, just go through the concepts and you understand what it is all about. So if you have a couple of questions, then you can sort of answer those ones. So the most important thing over here is to know what forecast is itself and what are forecast categories. So basically on the opportunity form itself, you have a forecast category. So you do a forecasting. So if you have got two opportunity, you say, okay, what is the possibility that you will won this deal? So you are sort of forecasting, and then that forecasting uses these categories, and then sort of do a forecasting of how much deals can be won or cannot be won. So just go through that. Next one is playbooks. Very interesting concept, but again, unfortunately, not much companies will be implementing this. So okay, I don't know what has happened. Okay, but it should be working. Yep. So over here, I've linked up from a third party, another organization. So they take you through into what playbook is and how you can use those playbooks. So again, don't spend too much time. Maybe just go through this article, and that should be sufficient for from an exam perspective, because you may or may not have any question on this one. Next one is relationship selling, and another super interesting concept, but just again, you have to go through it. You don't have to spend too much time on it. Next one is goal management. So goal management is where you set up goals. So if you have a sales team of 10 guys, let's say, so you set up goals for the for an individual as well as for the divisions and the business unit and the team itself. That okay, the target is for in, let's suppose in quarter one, somebody sales rep number A is supposed to win opportunities totaling $1 million. So based on how the quarter is going, then you can see whether the goal has been met or whether the goal has not been met. So it's again not a very difficult concept, but and just as I mentioned that you have to keep an eye on how much time is required for these things. So as you can see, this one has got only like one module for 40 minutes, the other one for 40 minutes as well. So I would suggest maybe do the first one, skim through the next one, and maybe overall spend 40-45 minutes on this topic topic just to understand what this is all about. And again, I'm not saying that don't completely study these topics. I'm assuming from an exam prep perspective, if somebody wants to go deep dive for their understanding perspective or for implementing in a project, that's slightly different. But to sort of go through the exam, you have to cover the topics on their merit, on how much importance the exam is giving to those topics. Okay, so these are the advanced sales concepts. So if you go through this pyramid, hopefully you would be in a good position to pass the examination. Okay, moving on from this exam pyramid. And now I've got top two exam tips. Now these two exam tips, I don't want to brag, but I've got like 17 plus certifications. I'm pretty okay with giving certification exams here and there. I'm still waiting on results for my 5 beta exam, which I've given recently, 3 of the security ones and 2 of the dynamics fundamentals. So I'm pretty comfortable giving exams whenever I want to, and those have been because I've been following two top tips my whole life. By my whole life mean my certification journey life. So the number one top exam tip is book your exam before you study. This is very, very important, because what happens is if you don't book your exam and you say, okay, I will study, I will prepare myself first, and then I will book the exam, then life will get in your way. And most probably, if you think, okay, I'll do the exam in May, you will not be giving your exam in May. You will have something coming up in your office, in your personal life in April and May, and you may be giving the exam down the line in August or September, or never, or you may just say, okay, I don't have time to for this exam anymore. So that's why I always say book your exam, so that the exam date is sort of a motivation and it pushes you to study for the exam. The second most important tip is read instead of watch and listen. So I know there are lots of useful YouTube videos out there, and YouTube channels from different MVPs and experts who will teach you each and everything about dynamic sales, and you can follow those videos. So if the goal is to understand a topic so that you can implement it in your projects, or if let's suppose you have never done anything with playbook and you want to learn what the playbook is all about so you can implement in your project, then fine, go ahead, watch those videos, listen to podcasts, listen to YouTube videos, and sort of understand the topic from there. But if the goal is that you want to prepare for taking an exam, then believe me, the best approach is reading. And the reason I'm saying this is that with Microsoft's new exam formats, which they have implemented last 1 or 2 years, is that in the exams you have got two main areas. One is where you are asked questions and you have different options, or you have to do an ordering of it in a process, or like multiple choice questions, those kind of things. And other is that you will have at least two case studies. So Microsoft will give you sort of a scenario of a fictitious organization, that okay, there is an organization called XYZ, and it will give you a sort of a very long documentation of okay, what they have implemented, or what is their problems, and what issues the users are facing, or what are the various features and those kind of things. And believe me, it will take you 15-20 minutes upwards just to read the case study itself. And then in the bigger case study, you will have to answer 7 questions based on that case study. And in the small case study, you will have to answer anywhere between 4 to 5 questions. Now, what I found out is that through my friends and other colleagues and from different experiments, is that people who don't read much in their life, and also who doesn't like who are not heavy readers, they struggle because of not because you have to read and you have to follow the clues of what is happening. So maybe in a very small line, Microsoft would say something like, okay, the company has 10 licenses. And then down the line, when there would be a question, and you would probably not, you will have to have a really sharp memory, or you'll have to have a very good reading skills to sort of solve those problems. So those questions are in my opinion, in my experience, more about the reading than about the technology itself. So I've seen quite a few people struggle, especially like me. If English is not your native language, then believe me, if you don't study by reading, then you would struggle. So that's why you may have noticed that all of the hyperlinks in my presentations, they none of them have referred you to a YouTube video. All of them have referred to your text. So that's what I want you to do, that instead of watching, read the text. Also, another thing, another problem with watching videos is that if you watch a video of how to, as an example, how to implement playbook, then you would follow the person who has made the video and see, okay, he has opened his dynamics environment, he's clicking this option, he's clicking that option. But after 2 or 3 days, if I ask you what the sequence was, you would have forgotten. But if you read that same information and you see that the user is said, okay, there is a screenshot of clicking that button, and while you are reading it, if you have a trial environment with you and you follow the step yourself, then because you have done two activities, one is read the steps as well as implement the steps yourself, there is a better possibility of retaining that information for exam day. So just my 2 cents, these two top tips, and you can follow these for any exams, not even just for this particular exam. Moving forward, so any questions? So I'm through with my presentations. Any questions? Yep, guys, any questions? Thank you. I'm just going to unshare my screen. Yes, I will be sharing the, yes, Ricardo, I'll be sharing the presentation. Yep.
Yeah, it's Julian here. I think I'm going to try and put all the link up or send you an email to where all the PowerPoints will be, and recordings as well, when I figured out how to do it.
Yep. Okay, great.
I've got some questions for you.
Yes, sir, no problem.
Sales for me, I think is one of the more straightforward of the exams out of all of them. What do you think is probably the hardest area for people to learn about?
I believe the hardest area is number one. What I've seen is that because most of us are from technological background, like only a few people I know in my life who are actually coming from the sales process itself and then doing this examination. So I think the one of the hardest parts is first forgetting or not knowing the, as I mentioned, the general sales process, and just to understand what the entities are. Because anybody who has given MB200 or PL200, they would know what an entity is, field security, those kind of things. But just the business, I would say the business language of what a lead is, of what an opportunity is. I've seen quite a few people who have struggled with lead and opportunities, just like in terms of differentiation between the two. So yeah, those kind of things I think is more important. Like as I mentioned, like goal management playbook. So before going into the technical thing of how I can implement a goal management thing, just to understand why it is required from a sales perspective, or what is a playbook.
What problems are they trying to solve? I think that's the good one, because playbooks is a hard one to figure out why they did it. And now I figured it out, but it took me a while.
Yes.
I've got a question from Hugh, actually. You see that one? Technique to do with case study questions.
Yes, so with case study question, as I mentioned, and that's again coming from somebody who's whose English is not first language. So as I mentioned, the first technique is try to do your studies by reading. So what this does is unconsciously you build up your reading skills, and then as I mentioned in a few of the slides, that don't spend too much time, skim through the skim through the reading part. So when you have a understanding of how to do a bit of speed reading, then it really helps in the examination. Because honestly, if you try to read the whole case study first and then say, okay, I want to now, and now I will go into the questions, then you will just do it back and forth again and again, because the case study is quite complex itself based on my experience. So just have to build up your reading skills, I believe.
If with me, the way case study questions are written by Microsoft is they write a case study and then there's about 10 or 12 questions
Yes.
written, but you only get maybe 4 or 5 of those questions. So a lot of the text in the case study isn't relevant necessarily to yours. So the way I do cases, I look at the question first, and then I skim the text. I speed read the text and try and find the words.
Exactly.
You used to be able to use Control F, but I actually did an exam last night, and I had 3 case studies in it, and I couldn't use Control F to try and find the word.
Okay.
Sometimes I found myself going back and reading. There was one word I was searching for, and I couldn't find it. It took me a while. Yeah, Robert's actually get about 9% of the facts are relevant. That's because they're probably for some of the other questions. There's probably one word you're searching for, and it is. This is why I don't like cases. The way they're written is you just trying to match the word that's going to tell you what the answer is.
Yes.
It's very different when you do an Azure. You do the Azure Solution Architect, for instance. The case studies are proper case studies. The ones we get in Dynamics, they're just word searching, and
Exactly.
so don't try. I would say don't try and figure out don't read the case and try and figure out the entire solution. You waste your time.
Yes, exactly. As you mentioned, that quite a few of the case study text is filler words. Okay, this is the organization. They are doing this, and you just waste your time. The only good thing about case studies is that now Microsoft got those vertical tabs on the side, so it gives you like issues, current system, future state. Then it sort of narrows it down. So when you go to your question and say what are the issues the user is facing, then the first logical step would be to go into the issues tab to see. Okay.
Yeah, I did what I did last night. Pretty much each of the questions was on one of the tabs. So, I was able to like go focus on that tab. That helped. But I still had to go read. Some of it was still spread around. Some other questions for you. I'll let you answer those, Ricardo.
Okay. Okay, so what Ricardo is saying, are there any questions more related with setup like Outlook apps, setup related server side async versus other organization? Um, Ricardo, I'm not 100% clear on this one. What I found from the study guide, there should not be any questions on these topics.
Okay,
I believe these questions will probably be covered more in MB200/PL200 exams, or not
all
sure.
the admin stuff has been taken out of all the exams. It's very much, remember, these are role based, and your functional consultant. There's somebody else who sets up Outlook. There's somebody else who sets up the server side sync. Might be a little bit about the mobile app, about maybe permissions for it, or maybe how you may design forms for it. There's like, for instance, the settings say whether dashboards appear on the mobile device. There'd be that level, but not, I think, about deployment and administration.
Exactly. So Alice has got one question here. Could you please share your thought how to use MS exam guide to allocate time for studying the exam? So Alice, again, this is a highly individual question based on everybody's circumstances. What I found out which works for me at least, is that let's say today is the 10th of April and I'm saying, okay, I want to give MB210 sales and I don't have much idea. I would just go through the study guide, see roughly how much topics I know, how much I have to study on, and then make an educated guess. But what I've done is I never go over 30 to 35 days. So at the worst case, if I don't even know any topic on the exam and I want to give that exam, I would say, okay, 10th April, today is 10th April, I'll book the exam for 10th May, not more than that. Because in my experience, what I've noticed is that after every 3 to 6 months, Microsoft updates the study guides. So if you have to time your preparation in my opinion, again, it can be wrong, time your study preparation within a 1 month period, so you don't overlap with the study guide. So as an example, with the Azure certifications, because I'm preparing for one of those, so Azure administrator exam, the study guide was updated on the last week of March. So but Microsoft gives you a future warning. So at the end of Feb, I could see that it was saying that the study guide will be updated on so date, and I knew I could not prepare within 20 days for that exam. So I thought, okay, let's wait, let the study guide get update, and then I will start my studies. But again, don't book the exam more than 30 days from whenever you want to book it. But my number one tip is book your exam first, so that it sort of forces you to study. And the other thing is book your exam and tell as many people as you can that you have booked your exam and so did. And the reason is that I know if your friends are like me, they would ask you on the exam date how your exam went. and then and a few would be hoping that you would say it did not go well. you know so if you tell as many people that you are sitting an exam, then it sort of gives you in that situation, like you'll have a slightly ego problem where you want to pass the exam, you know what I mean, like you don't want to face don't want to get embarrassed in front of your friends. So the good thing would be to probably post on LinkedIn that okay, I'm sitting for this exam or whatever, but just get it out there, get it in your friends, so it forces you. Mm. Any other questions? So Robert has pretty much answered a few of the questions as well here. Thank you, Robert. Any more questions?